Tracy.
I'm Rahana Power.
And today we have Adri Mehra. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Yeah.
We're going to jump in really quick with our fun icebreaker question. Adri, what is a fun, random, interesting talent that you may have that others may or may not know about?
Fun, random, interesting talent.
Just one of those things? It could be all of them.
That is
Just
kind of a tall order.
anything at all. Yeah, anything at all.
Well, speaking of tall order, one thing I do think of right away, sometimes people are weirdly surprised that I like sports. Which I don't know why that's weird.
Yeah.
But I think, just through my life, I have various groups of friends from different points of my life. Some from playing music. I've been in band since I was in 8th grade, and then and then acting. Doing theater, doing a lot of Shakespeare, and but then it turns out that I have a pretty decent hook shot on the basketball court.
Oh, nice.
So when I said tall order, I just reminded myself of I'm 5'7", but I can kind of do a hook shot.
That's awesome.
So.
I like it.
Nice. Do you play basketball often? Do you know what position you would play if you were, tasked?
If I, at the time I stopped playing, which was in 8th grade when I started doing theater, or music actually first. At that point, I was basically the same height as now. But weirdly, in 7th, 8th grade, if you were 5'7", that was not bad. But I just stopped.
Right.
So to answer your question, I could only play point guard, basically.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of hook shots from the point guard. So
right.
Usually the center does that.
You drive to the lane, just right down the post.
Yeah. I have to learn to jack up threes.
Yeah. A little Russell Westbrook, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Adri, I think I met you at Bryant Lake Bowl.
Yeah,
a few
probably.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're primarily an actor, is that correct?
Yeah. I guess you and I have met there as me being a just kind of a local film enthusiast. Right. I'd like to go there to support. Obviously, you're talking about the Cinema Lounge that Film North produces once a month. I started going there through my friend Billy Jo Cones. I don't know if you ever met her. She just moved to Atlanta.
Oh, right.
A few weeks ago. But she got me going to Cinema Lounge. She actually is in the film that I've been working on as well. And, I have a while ago, I think about a year ago, I worked on something that we submitted to Cinema Lounge, but I don't know if it didn't get in at that point at least, but
right.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just poke the programmer a few times and be like, hey, did you see this? So.
Yeah, Valerie, right? Yeah, I think it might have we thought maybe it got lost in the shuffle a little bit because when Joshua was hosting, it moved over to Merit.
Oh, right.
And I do think some people submitted didn't get a response.
Yeah.
So
plus they can only show 4, maybe 5 at a time. So
it ends up being, and kind of after the third one, depending on how long they are, can get a little restless.
Right. What short did you submit?
It was one that I worked on with a friend of mine, Mike Peters, who is a photographer primarily, but he was a guy that I went to high school with in St. Louis Park, and he's got great gear. He worked at National Camera and Video for a couple of years, so very knowledgeable about that, and I'm sure I'll be working with him in the future. But that was a piece that probably is a decent length, between 8 and 9 minutes. So I think for things like Cinema Lounge, I think it feels like that's a good length to just kind of show your first collaboration with somebody.
Yeah, definitely. Because they like to talk to the filmmakers afterwards more, just to dive deeper. So, yeah. Well, you know the format.
I think once it gets sometimes it's interesting at Cinema Lounge because sometimes they'll show just a trailer. It might even be a teaser for 20 seconds, and you can end up talking about it for 10 minutes.
That was me. Yeah.
Exactly. That was like your film. And then as you've seen, sometimes there'll be something. I think the longest thing I've seen there is like 25 minutes, maybe.
Whoa.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Some of those kind of documentary pieces are sometimes pretty long.
Right. The PBS specials.
Basically.
So how did you get into filmmaking or acting?
I think like a lot of my particular friend group, I think a lot of us got into film by way of theater. Like I said, I went to St. Louis Park High School, which is, right next to Minneapolis. And so, did a lot of theater. And then I majored in theater at the U, got my BA. I didn't do the BFA program with the Guthrie, just the regular BA program. And then after that, did some auditioning and did a lot of theater. And then what I'm finding, now being 37 years old, for example, I think a lot of us feel like retiring from theater, just the grind of rehearsals and auditioning and everything is at least 6 weeks, if not, 2 or 3 months worth of work. And so a lot of us like the immediacy of film a little more. So there's so much good acting talent in the Twin Cities that I think a lot of directors and writers really they're lucky. And I think they're starting to make more use of us actors.
What made you decide to stay in Minnesota to continue pursuing this versus maybe branching out and going to Atlanta or New York or LA or anywhere?
It's definitely something you think about. I did have a brief excursion to New York. So I had one semester at the U, and a lot of my friends had gone out east for school, for example, for performing arts, and found myself really kind of at a crossroads. 9/11 happened. That was my first semester at the U in 2001. And I just felt a pull to New York, so I dropped out, moved there, lived there for about 6 months, and came back. I was still a teenager. But that was an amazing experience. Did a little bit of it's like cable access TV there. I was like a VJ back when that meant something. And interviewed, some people like Chuck D and Speech, who's the rapper from Arrested Development. Les Paul before he passed away, guitar, the original Guitar Hero. But anyway, so to answer your question, so I do like to go back to New York every year if I can, just as a tourist or visiting friends. But the reason I've stayed here is that I always kind of told myself I would perhaps look into moving to a different market, if I got bored or if it didn't seem like there was much going on. But there just seems to be more and more happening, so I just keep staying.
It's definitely understandable.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been around here too for a while, and then you see an interesting turnover sometimes in people who either go to LA, New York, wherever, Atlanta now, obviously. Right. But then like a new wave comes in, sometimes. So it's very interesting because we have like MCTC and IPR now that have like all these up and coming filmmakers, I'd say.
Yeah. And I think, I think things like the 48-Hour Film Festival and Z-Fest, I do think people here take that pretty seriously as a way to not just showcase their work, but to actually, do a good job.
Right.
And I think that's why you see a lot of the local 48-hour pieces, for example. I mean, some of them have gone on to show at the Cannes Festival, and that happened a couple of years ago with one of them.
Oh, wow.
There's a 48-hour entry at the Cannes Festival. I think they have a couple spots. And there was one guy here a couple of years ago who went there.
Do you remember who?
I forget his name.
Or which film?
No, it must have been, it must have been 2017 again.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. But yeah, I mean, I think as long as there's work to be had, I think the actors will stay here.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And at least to begin their careers too, if a lot of people need experience. I've heard from many actors that do go to LA, New York, whatever. They can get background work, probably, and then work their way up slowly, maybe. Have you ever done stuff like that in New York, like background or anything like that? Or
No, I heard about that. I looked into that. I've had friends that, like you're saying, background work. I think a few years ago, just whatever Law and Order series is filming, since those are episodic, they, you can always have new people in the background. And the idea that, you can get a few $100s for, a 12 or 14 hour day on set. I never did that. I think, and sort of, I think what you were kind of alluding to, I think you can work here. And for example, this feature that I've been working on, which we can talk about, I'm the co-lead in that.
yeah,
And that's going to be a 100-minute film. And I just don't know that I would have been able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Even if I had a couple years out there.
Right. Yeah. So to that point, like working on this feature, being able to, I don't know, get like that. What is it? A co-lead? You say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that opportunity would exist elsewhere, or?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about the feature now that I've been working on, but I think when I say co-lead, it's a World War II comedy, and it's kind of a buddy comedy, and it would be sort of a road movie if it wasn't us basically in canoes. So the premise is so the film is called, the working title is The Adventures of Ben Keller and Christoph Schultz, and so myself and Trevor Simmons, my co-star, we play these two Germans. It's based on a true story, who are kind of outcasts, rapscallions in Germany. We're against Hitler, but then, we get drafted in, we have to fight. We get captured in Italy on the war front, and we get sent to a prison camp in Minnesota. So apparently they did have German prison camps in the state of Minnesota.
That's
briefly.
fascinating.
Yeah. Towards the end of the war, I think maybe like 44 or 45.
Huh.
The years, 1944, 45.
Right, yeah.
If you can imagine, that was just a place where when the Americans captured some Germans, not the same, not nearly the same conditions, of course, as the Japanese internment camps out west.
Mm-hmm.
So our characters, there's a bit of slapstick. It's not a well-run prison camp by these Scandinavians. And we keep escaping and hanging out with the girls in town, in the small town in Minnesota. And we steal a couple canoes, and we get it in our heads that we want to row back to Germany. We think if we can find the Mississippi, we've read Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. We think, hey. And so, but anyway, so when I say co-lead, that's what I mean, where it's kind of a buddy comedy.
Right.
And even this story is unique to Minnesota. So again, it's just not a story that would have been told in L.A. or Atlanta or New York.
Right.
Right.
So I feel lucky that I've stuck around enough to get this project.
That's good. Like, who's the filmmaker, first off?
So these two guys, Brian Steenerson and Ben Dritz, I actually met them at a Film North event.
Okay.
They have those mixers. They had like a social mixer. This would have been probably spring of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met these guys. The one thing that they've done is a web series called The Apostles, which they did a few episodes for, which I think is on Vimeo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just, at that point, they were just, looking for funding for that before they continued that. But Ben had the script for this that he'd written. So they call themselves B&B Productions right now. which is Ben and Brian. They did want to be Minnesota-made films, but then I think somebody else is using that right now.
Oh, really?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that somewhere on
I saw, something with that. Yeah.
with Minnesota-made or
Yeah,
something.
something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
I'm going to have to tell him that. But, and actually Brian comes from the music community more. I don't know him from that. He's been in a band called Merzik for like 20 years. He has a recording studio in a building right next to Betty Danger's.
Oh, cool.
With the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
Nice.
He has a recording studio called Dastardly Records, and that's where they held the auditions. And
Oh, nice.
He records bands down there.
Cool. So when they approached you, or how was the casting for you, like that process? Did they have a formal casting call, or how did that go for you?
I believe they posted on TC Theater and Film and a couple of other places. So I did, so I met them at the Film North event, and we exchanged cards, and they said they were working on this Apostles web series, but then, which was kind of looked like this goofy kind of Kevin Smith Dogma kind of approach to, I don't know how many apostles there are, like 11 or 12
I don't
in the
actually
Bible.
know.
And
I'm not sure. 12 maybe?
Yeah, 12, I think.
12
Yeah.
disciples.
Originally, they envisioned
I don't
me
know.
as playing Jesus on roller skates or something. But then I said, what else you guys got? And they said, well, we have this
Right.
World War II comedy. So I did go in and audition at their recording studio next to Betty Danger's. And I have a pretty good German accent.
Oh, okay.
Speaking English with a German accent. In my theater career, for whatever reason, I've played German characters 3 or 4 times, even though
Really?
my dad's from Afghanistan and my mom's from here.
It came in handy then.
It came in handy, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they cast me right away, seemingly, and I actually helped them audition other people after that.
Okay.
So I was an
Cool.
early cast.
So would you read with like the other actors when
Yeah.
they're auditioning? Okay.
Yep, I would read opposite other people. I play Christoph and the character, and Benjamin. For example, I read alongside whoever was auditioning for Benjamin. That would also help them. Not only was I a warm body to read the lines, I was also the guy who's going to be playing the other character.
Right. See how you like interact and play
Exactly.
off each other. And that's a really smart idea. I like that.
Plus you would know kind of how to, kind of an intuition, I suppose, as an actor of how they're going to play with you on certain things, maybe play off of you with those line readings, I suppose.
Yeah, because even the sides, as they say, for the audition were just different scenes that were already in the script.
Right.
So like you guys are saying, you can get a sense of the chemistry. And so that was July of 2018. Started filming. We wanted it to be right. We wanted the fall colors outside, so we're shooting a lot outside. So we started right around the end of October.
Okay.
So we did a lot of scenes up north in Pine River, which is kind of up by Bemidji. There's a lot of us canoeing when we escape.
Yep.
And then kind of like this year, it got unseasonable and snowed. So we only got a couple weekends in, and then we had to move kind of early in the filming schedule to do indoor stuff,
Right.
which we did in the winter and spring, and then did some scenes that were supposed to be take place in Germany in the spring, take advantage of the green for forest kind of scenes. And we went down to southern Minnesota, a place called Altura, which is kind of near Red Wing.
Yep.
Between Red Wing and Rochester, I think. And filmed in the summer, and we have one more day of shooting left. So it's been over a year.
That's quite the process.
Wait, what season do you need to film for your last one more day?
This is another indoor scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because now it's... we wanted to reshoot one scene of us stealing the canoe for the first time, which, the script takes, the story in the script takes place, it's supposed to take place over like at least a couple years of us in the camp. So we could feasibly have. We did think about having a scene with snow on the ground that might be kind of show the passage of time.
Right.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So we might do a shot of us taking the canoe, since we do that a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But the last full day of shooting is next Saturday, and that's supposed to be at like a mess hall in the prison camp, as they say, which if you're looking for something that might look like a mess hall in the 40s, you have to go to like a church cafeteria. And so we found one in St. Paul to shoot at next week.
Nice.
That's awesome. Oh, cool. So is this your first feature that you've been a part of?
You know, I think like a lot of us who do this, I was in a feature 12 years ago that just never got finished.
Yeah. Those happen.
Yeah. It was cool. It was like an action movie. It was shot here.
Mm-hmm.
I just graduated from the U, and we shot the whole thing, and apparently the tapes were stolen.
No.
And
that's
Tapes?
so unfortunate.
I guess tapes. I mean, back then.
Yeah,
there were
that's
tapes.
true.
Oh, wait. Okay.
This is like 2007.
Okay.
I mean, probably like digital, DAT or something, or
Mhm.
Like mini DV maybe?
or mini DV at
Yeah.
the time. Yeah, I suppose people were doing like the Sony 3-chip kind of thing.
But they were taken.
Yeah, so I think
Aw.
they said they had a rough cut, but the tapes themselves were lost,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought of just a way. I thought that was like them trying to say we're just not going to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like
Aw.
I'm trying to imagine a heist of tapes taking place there.
That's
on,
actually a really good
on
point.
the light rail or something. But
Oh, man.
Someone just took the tapes, but not the computer. I'm
I
just kidding.
Yeah,
Yes.
not
I'm
the
just kidding.
equipment.
I don't know
if
the
you're rifling through
situation.
a duffel bag, you need to head for those tapes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's unfortunate. It didn't get finished, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was my only experience with a full length. Otherwise, like I said, some 48-hour, some Z-Fest.
Mm-hmm.
I did a kind of a fun little thing for the Minnesota Department of Health, which was like I have a friend who works in the offices, the state offices there, and it was just I don't know if you called it an industrial video. It was like a training video.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what not to do. So
Oh.
Yeah.
did like some video
All that
skits,
cheesy stuff.
Those are fun.
yeah, exactly. Kind of making fun of
Yes.
training videos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing you can, if you look me up on YouTube, I think there's an edit of that.
Nice.
Yeah, I think there's a Z-Fest trailer on YouTube and some music videos, a couple music videos that I've been in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So you've been doing this for quite a while. Over your experiences and your time acting, is there like a genre or a type of film or even theater that you seem to be drawn more to than others?
I think, I had my theatrical training was pretty serious, and that was the way I wanted it. A lot of Shakespeare and kind of American realism.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams kind of stuff. But since then, I have gravitated more towards comedy.
Yeah.
And that's where I have some training as well. I took an improv class at Huge in Uptown a couple years ago. I just took a sketch writing class at Strike Theater in Northeast.
Oh, cool.
And so and then this is although it's World War II, it is a comedy.
Yeah.
It does deal with some there's a scene of us in combat. There's we do still treat it with the seriousness it deserves
Mm-hmm.
during wartime. But I think comedy, even physical comedy too, I think is where I feel most comfortable right now.
Mm-hmm. That's an exciting shift, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially like finding your way through like into comedy and then finding like that comedic timing and all of these things. I mean, it's a process, so it's exciting to move into that.
Yeah.
Right. I guess do you find inspiration in other actors, either locally or just in general, from like movies that you admire the most, or that you've kind of, I don't know, not emulate, at least, found your stride with?
That's a good question. I do think there was a lot of good work done by, I don't know how far back you guys go as far as me being older, but there was a great theater called Junlun that was here. They pretty much closed up, must have been about 10 years ago at this point. But they used to have a space kind of in the North Loop, Théâtre de Junlun, and they did a lot of kind of Molière. They did a lot of farce, like French or even Italian farce.
Oh, cool.
Like Tartuffe kind of things. And there, but to answer your question, there was I don't know if he's still local. There's a guy named Stephen Epp who is really good. Just going in that physical comedy kind of vein. So there's a lot of inspiration to be had from the theater community here. The Jungle does really good work. I like the new artistic director at the Guthrie, Joseph Hodge, from the last few years. His very first show he directed, I think, was a Marx Brothers play.
Oh, really?
So the Marx Brothers started in vaudeville, and then, of course, they were kind of early film stars. So I think their first film was called The Coconuts, and that was mounted vaudeville style at the Guthrie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like 4 years ago. And so that's the type of thing that I'm really into, is that kind of old-timey farce, bringing some of that kind of comic timing, if I can. But otherwise, as far as modern film, I mean, I love the Coen brothers. I like how hard they are on their protagonists. They're pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
With their characters. And
favorite Coen Brothers movie?
I just watched Inside Llewyn Davis for a second time.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
I haven't, no.
That one kind of flew a little under the radar for some reason. It was it's Oscar Isaac
who is brilliant.
Who's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
And of course everybody knows him now from Star Wars.
Right.
And this was even the moment before he did Ex Machina, which people liked as well.
So good.
And so Inside Llewyn Davis is great. That's, again, being hard on their protagonist. That's where Oscar Isaac plays a folk singer in New York in like 1961. And it's just right place, wrong time. It's the moment before Bob Dylan shows up, literally.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, you hear Bob Dylan get on stage and start singing. So, and then, of course, good luck trying to be a folk singer after Bob Dylan shows up.
Yeah.
He changes the game. Yeah, I think that might be my favorite.
That's understandable. I feel like anything Oscar Isaac does has got to be a favorite.
Yeah, and you're right. That film did. I haven't seen it, unfortunately, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, why didn't I hear about this? I saw Hail Caesar, and that was just.
I never saw that one either.
Hail Caesar was tough. I fell asleep the first time I saw it.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
And I actually paid again to go to the lagoon or something.
That is impressive.
And I think I fell asleep again, actually. That was a weird movie. I think I should see it again. I don't know what you thought of it. But.
Yeah, it was a little drier than... Yeah.
It looked like it. Like, just from the trailer even. I was like...
Well, they kind of... The first trailer was kind of more like stylized. Like, it was like all these big names. And
Right.
you're going to have a fun time in Hollywood type of... Like, the old Hollywood way,
Yep.
Right.
Then it just kind of was like, what is this film?
Weird pacing.
Yeah.
They always have kind of weird pacing.
Right.
Yeah.
But like No Country for Old Men, where it was like, well, it is... what it is. It's a desert. Yeah. It's not going to act itself out, more than it is.
Exactly, yeah.
So they made him seem like that, like the desert. Hollywood was a desert.
Right.
Technically it is. It is
Which,
a desert.
Yeah, and morally probably.
Yeah.
That just makes me think. So you falling asleep during that movie just made me think of this. So like there's one movie in my mind that I can think of where like in the theater, I was like, I can't with this movie. So do you have a movie like you've seen it? And I feel like as actors, like it's tough for us to really like not see the work that at least went into it and appreciate it for that, if nothing else.
That's true.
So is there one movie where you're just like hard pass on this movie?
You know, I just saw this Last Christmas movie with Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell me that's not good. I want to see it so bad.
No, I mean, I've never wanted to like a movie so much.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Oh.
And it has an all George Michael soundtrack.
Right.
You know, of course,
like
Last
how
Christmas, the
amazing.
famous
Yes.
song from Wham, George Michael, but the whole soundtrack is Wham and solo George Michael,
That's amazing.
which is wonderful.
Right.
And Emma Thompson is in it, playing Emilia Clarke's Yugoslavian mother.
Which is very interesting.
Interesting.
She's brilliant as well.
She's great, and she does a great job. I mean, she can act her way out of any paper bag
Oh, absolutely.
that she chooses. But despite that, you'd think that would be enough. Emilia Clarke and Emma Thompson and George Michael music.
Yeah. And it's just not.
It's just the script.
And
is just-
Henry Goulding.
Henry Golding, yep,
Yeah.
from Crazy Rich Asians, and I think
A Simple Favor.
Simple Favor, which I have not seen. Simple Favor. Have you
So good.
It is.
Yeah,
It
you
is
guys saw that?
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to see that next because apparently, I think in that film, Michelle Yeoh
Mm-hmm.
plays his mother, or is that?
That's crazy.
Or is that in Crazy Rich Asians?
Yeah.
That, okay.
Mhm.
So Michelle Yeoh is also in Last Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's still a group of people who are convinced, even having seen the movie, that Michelle Yeoh is also playing his mother in Last Christmas. Because I guess they can't understand,
There are other Asian
Yeah,
actors.
you see,
that could,
you see the same two
play
Asian
this.
actors. They must be the same relation
Oh my goodness.
to each other. But yeah, so that was kind of a cringe fest, but because of Last Christmas. But it's very colorful. The acting is actually great.
Okay.
I mean, Henry Golding, as you say, I mean, he's great as well.
So it's really the script.
The script
Yeah.
is so bad, and that's
so unfortunate.
yeah, and that's and we see that happen sometimes with rom-coms and holiday movies, especially.
Yeah, I was just thinking that holiday movies, like even like Halloween, Christmas, like I feel like people maybe try a little too hard, and it just
Those are like notes
Hardness.
from studios that are like, tone it down with this and just
Yeah.
make it in this cookie cutter fashion so that we
Yeah.
can sell it to families
Right.
of all ages.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, you do get the sense there because again, there's no shortage of talent,
Right.
but and Emma Thompson co-wrote the script too,
Really?
which is interesting.
Surprises me, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know this, but I guess she has kind of punched up some scripts that she's been in, kind of a
Mhm.
script doctor.
Really? Like Late
Okay.
Night or something? Did she do
That's a
something
good
with
question.
that,
I
or-
don't
I
know
wanna
if she
see
did that
that.
with Late Night. I know she did it with even going as far back apparently as Sense and Sensibility.
Oh.
Not credited, I don't think, but I think she and
Okay.
Ang Lee, who
Right.
directed it, had collaborated a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she was in Bridget Jones's Diary, but she helped
No.
with that apparently,
Really?
or maybe the sequel.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't know that about her. But,
Yeah. She can do it all.
yeah. Again, we're not questioning her talent. so-
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a hard pass for you.
That makes me sad.
Yeah,
But that happens.
I feel bad. I don't.
No.
burst
Oh,
Christmas bubble.
don't get it wrong. I'm still gonna see it.
And you should,
But at least now my expectation is set. So
And there's certain things there's some really nice stuff in it too. But again, there's that itis, right? There's some sort of disease
Yeah.
with holiday films and
Mhm.
and sometimes with rom-coms where, again, I think Alan's right. I think there's people mingling from the executive producer side who
Mhm.
are
yeah.
the studio side.
Yeah.
Let's.
And who knows? Maybe like 2 scenes got cut, and that's what put it all together. And all of a sudden, without them, it's just.
Yeah, and it's directed by what's his name, Paul Feig,
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
guy who did the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
With the ladies,
Which I
and,
thoroughly enjoyed.
yeah, which was great. He might have done. I
He's done a few things here, yeah.
don't know if he did. I don't know if he did Simple Favor, but
That sounds right.
He might have. I think
Peter.
because I do think this was a bit of a reunion
Paul.
of sorts. Yeah, I think even on this film, he worked with people he's worked with before.
Right. That makes sense.
But yeah, that one's a cringe fest.
The Heat.
The Heat.
Yep. Oh, Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids, of course. Yep. Okay,
Yep.
that's what I was trying
Yep.
to think of. Yeah.
He did do A Simple Favor, too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hence Henry Golding.
Hence Henry Golding. You know, another one that was tough for me, now that I think about it, is the Steve Jobs movie.
I was not able to finish that.
Yeah, that was another one where I
wanted to like it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very unfortunate.
I was like, wait a minute, is this it?
Right, it's just like, and it's, you know, Steve Jobs is like the Beatles. I mean, it's hard to live up to the expectations every time.
Then there was the one with Ashton Kutcher, which was called Jobs, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I didn't see that one.
That one was actually better compared to that in
That's
that
what some
sense.
people have said.
Just because it was more, you know, his whole life, not just these instances with, you know,
right.
I suppose failure, but, you know.
Yeah, just kind of like these moments.
Rough.
But that's that writer's, what's his name? I forgot his name.
Oh, that's not Aaron Sorkin, was it?
Yeah,
Look at
yeah,
Jobs?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of walking and talking with that guy.
Yeah.
Like West Wing.
Yeah,
right?
West Wing. Yeah. How many seasons? Holy buckets. But for acting for you, what keeps you going? What is it that, you know, for today to, well, like once this is done, then what? What's, you know, it's kind of like what keeps you going?
Yeah. What fuels your passion?
You know, I think it is kind of a bug. One thing that has sort of sustained me is that I do have a day job in finance, just working on the phone as an advisor downtown, and that pays some of the bills, not as many as you think.
Yeah.
But so I'm able to have that sort of part of my headspace blocked off for the day job. And then, you know, I've also, like I said, been playing in bands since junior high school. And so I have that, you know, once a month or a month.
What role do you have in the band?
So I sing and play bass.
Oh.
My band is called Cabs. I've been in other bands in the past where I just played bass, but these are mostly my songs. Most often we play at the Kitty Cat Club in Dinkytown, like every month or two. But then we are playing at the 331 Club in Northeast on December 4th as well. And so... But anyway, so I think what helps keep me going with acting is I do have some other things going on. I've never tried to be a working actor, whatever that means, where like some of my friends who their whole life revolves around auditioning and having flexibility, which is why, you know, in the service industry, if you have a job, it's nice from that perspective, right? Because you can always switch shifts with somebody if you need to audition during the day. Or if you get a gig on a cruise ship, you know, you can come back and be a bartender or something. But I never, for whatever reason, I never had those kind of visions for myself. I kind of thought that I would be more of a weekend warrior with it, and weeknights. So I actually have kind of, it's kind of a, you know, a Faustian bargain, as they say. But like by having the day job, I have my nights and weekends free. So it's and the transition from theater to film, I think, you know, I'm just less. Well, I guess I'm still tired, but in a different in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nice to be able to have a little bit more immediacy, even if your director's nice enough to you to send you a couple scenes,
Right.
you know, rough cuts every once in a while. You know, it's really rewarding to do film.
Absolutely.
Do you find it either easy or maybe harder to find roles just in general that you want to take on or that are available even? I don't know. So what's the landscape look like for you as an actor?
I think, yeah, I mean, and I think, I kind of describe myself as vaguely ethnic, which can be good or bad. I mean, I find myself playing a German here. And actually, when I brought that up to the guys, the director and the writer, they were like, your German accent was so good that, it didn't matter what you look like. But I might look like your podcast listeners can't see me, obviously, but sort of tan. I used to say I could pass for almost anything other than East Asian and Central African. Otherwise, I might have a shot. So, but yeah, to answer your question, it's and not to totally make light of it. I mean, I think I am probably white passing, as they say. So I think when I am looking at plays or films to audition for, I think locally there is still an opportunity for more diverse casting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as there's more and more work to do, I think there's more and more of that. So,
right.
Whereas in New York or LA, there's a lot of people who look like everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
That's true. That's the biggest city in the world, in New York. So
right. Yeah.
So after going to school, getting your BA in theater, how have you managed to continue keeping up your process and continue building your skill? Like, what's your go-to, I guess, process? Yeah.
That's a good question. One thing, besides trying to go to a lot of theater
Mm-hmm.
and support the local theater scene, which is important in the film scene as well, right? Because you get to see what other people are doing and you get to connect with people,
Mm-hmm.
like how I connected with Ellen. But one thing I do like to do to kind of keep those muscles working is I like to, if I can, participate in staged readings.
Okay.
When there's new work, and that's not just playwrights, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been involved in several readings from screenwriters.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, if you've written a screenplay, you will just want to hear that read out loud.
Right, absolutely.
By a group of actors.
Yeah.
Just like a table read or, everybody sitting on folding chairs.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to do several of those a year.
Oh, cool. How do you get into doing that? Like, how do you find those?
They do, as I mentioned before, which a lot of people know about, there's the TC Theater and Film, I believe. There's a website, but I think that's the name
Mm-hmm.
of the page on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it is true that I've been around long enough where sometimes I get asked, or sometimes I know somebody that is a writer. But a good place locally is the Phoenix Theater in Uptown on Hennepin. And that is, years ago, it used to be the old Brave New Workshop
Yeah.
spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think Brave New Workshop moved downtown about 10 years ago, probably. So it's their old space. It's a really nice black box theater.
Which one? I'm sorry. Which one?
It's called the Phoenix.
Oh,
Theater.
yeah. I've
Yeah.
been there a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've done a few readings. Not even, you can either do them on stage, and you kind of bring up music stands, or everybody has their binders open.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have a pretty sizable lobby area, too, with couches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I'd
do
say
it
the
there.
lobby bigger than the theater.
It is. It is. But yeah, it depends on the intimacy you want.
But then people can hang out afterwards. It makes it more, I don't know, easier to hang out, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah,
It's a little more welcoming.
it's more of a hang. They have, they have beer there.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Yeah.
concessions. So yeah, to answer your question, I think that's a good kind of low stakes way to keep reading new work out loud, and to because I think it is important for the focus to be on new work and supporting new writers. I think that's the problem with theater, is that so much of it is going back to the well and doing, especially places like the Guthrie. I mean, it's the safe stuff. It's Christmas Carol right now. It's
It's like Hollywood pumping
It's
out
like
more
Hollywood.
holiday films, less holiday
Exactly.
plays. Yeah, huh?
It's,
I mean, if people would stop seeing it, they'd stop doing it. But everybody wants to see that.
and that's the thing. And there's always a market for. Everybody wants. It's like everybody wants the great. Everybody wants the blockbuster film that's well directed and well acted. You know, which you get sometimes, and there's always going to be a market for a great holiday film. But why do they always have to be so bad? You know, Elf was okay.
Elf was a national treasure.
Yeah.
John Favreau. Yeah.
Yes.
Fred Claus.
Love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep, that was good. There's
Fred
one
Claus
that
was good.
came out on Disney Plus called Noel that I'm actually very excited about because it has Bill Hader and Anna Kendrick, who I think are two hilarious human beings.
Just Disney Plus?
I think so.
New?
I thought it was coming out on in theater.
Yeah.
And then we got Disney Plus and it was on there and I was very thrown off.
Oh, it's already available too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was very thrown off and I wasn't sure how I felt about that because I really wanted to go to a theater to watch these two hilarious people.
If it's Disney Plus, then yeah, it's their.
Yeah.
I don't know. Their property, I suppose.
Right.
Right.
But so yeah, it's at least on there, available now. But
Okay.
So hopefully that's a decent Christmas movie. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you start to worry about that. Like I'm confused with The Irishman. You know.
Yeah.
Because it's been out.
L.A. and New York probably.
Yeah, they've done these really select screenings, like starting November 1st.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to see it. I don't know where it's playing, but a friend of mine invited me to see it on the 25th somewhere.
Oh, cool.
In the theater. But then apparently it's going to be available on Netflix on the 27th.
That's
Is
so
it like, are
weird.
they testing it and keep pushing the date out, just
Right.
seeing how it does? Or?
It seems so weird to me.
It's. I'm not sure if it's definitely not necessarily day and date quite, but it's close to that. I think this is a new territory for Netflix in general,
Right.
because they've adamant against doing the whole exhibition format,
Right.
because their business is streaming. So
And pushback about from people saying, "Hey, I want to see Scorsese in
on the theater,
theater."
Yeah.
And then, because I think originally they weren't going to show it, it seemed like, and then they capitulated and said, "Well, we'll show it a few times."
Well, look at like El Camino that came out.
Yeah.
It had a limited release to theaters, but it was on Netflix too. So
Was it at the same time it was in the theater?
I don't know. I dropped Netflix,
You
but
dropped it, huh?
I saw El Camino in theater.
Oh, okay.
In the
Yeah, yeah.
theater, so it was fun to watch it that way.
It's kind of new territory.
Yeah, because first of all, when are you going to see Breaking Bad on the big screen? Probably never. So you might as well check it out while you can.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
your
think-
grade for that was?
What? My grade?
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just an interesting twist on also for as an independent filmmakers liking your film, how are they going to distribute? You know, that's kind of the difference between like micro budget indie versus like Hollywood that can make all these weird decisions because they don't know what's going on either.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think it's wise to try to go for theatrical as an independent film, or do you go more directly to like a VOD platform?
I think my understanding, I feel like you always got to try. Especially, what we've done here is I think it's going to, dare I say, I think it's going to end up, I think it's pretty good. And it's going to be, I think, between 100 and 120 minutes. And
Wow.
And it's a it's obviously kind of a historical film. It should be on the big screen. And I think because it's a feature, right, I think you should always try. I think they're going to do the festival circuit. I think one thing that perhaps hasn't changed for this type of film is that you want to, before you show it to too many people, you want to submit it to festivals, maybe even one in Germany, and see what the appetite is for. A lot of festivals may only take a couple of features, right? See what kind of traction you can get there. And it kind of seems like that would be the order of operations. See how far you can get with that. And then, our one of the DPs on our film shot a film in Bemidji called Bemidji. And it's kind of a noir thing. It's pretty cool. It's on Amazon streaming. And so I think he shopped it around, and he just went to, I think, Detroit to show something, a different thing. So he's used to doing that circuit, but I think Amazon is a little less discerning too. Like I think you can just throw something up there and they'll give you the stats because it's Google powered, basically. Where, he's like I know when somebody starts watching the movie, and I don't know if they finish watching it, but that counts as one view or whatever.
Right.
And it tells you on the map. Someone in the UK watched his little Bemidji movie.
Right.
So I think eventually it does land on streaming, but I think if you have a feature, I think you should see how far it goes with the festivals first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Adri, I guess the big question we should ask before we go here, what's your why? Why do you keep pursuing acting after all these years?
Yeah, I think the why has to be, I think about something that Paul Simon, the great American songwriter, said. He's kind of wrapping up his career. He's like in his late 70s. And he said, with music, I was trying to solve a problem, is what he said. And for him it was a musical problem. He was trying to get the right mix, going to South Africa for the Graceland album, getting the right chord progression, studying jazz, studying classical, folk. So anyway, I'm not comparing myself, but I feel like I'm trying to solve a problem. I think that's what we do in the arts. Is we may be trying to reflect reality, but we're almost looking for something that's hyper real, something beyond it, and something that is maybe a little bit more beautiful if we can. So that's what keeps me going.
Wow.
Well, how can people get in touch with you or maybe see your work? You mentioned YouTube. Do you have other social media pages or an email or something like that? Like if someone wanted to check out your work or reach out and work with you?
Yeah, I'm very active on Facebook. I'm sure as Alan has seen, and on Instagram. Instagram handle is just my name, Adri Mehra, and I should get on Twitter, but.
I feel like that's a day job all in itself.
I know.
Twitter.
I know it's going to be a black hole. But
yeah.
I think eventually I'll probably have to do it. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook is good. You can, on my Instagram, you can see, you can actually follow our film as well. I believe the handle is just The Adventures of Ben and Christoph. Christoph, CHRISTOPH, like Christoph Waltz. Not the same, though. Not the same person.
Close.
But yeah, Facebook and Instagram is good. Adri Mehra, ADRIMEHRA. Sorry.
Nice.
And Adri, before you go, I have to hear your German accent.
Please.
That's very strange to be doing a German accent. It's a Edina Public Library. Very strange, very unusual place to be doing it. But thank you, Alan. It's been very nice today.
That is very good.
That was good, yeah.
That's so good. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Adri. It was wonderful getting to meet you and chat with you about film.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, that's Film in Minnesota for this week. I'm Alan Tracy.
I'm Molly Power.
See you guys next time.